instead of wasting that time with people who feel safe behind a screen, I think use that to have these conversations that are difficult. Use them to be brave and have these conversations at work.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to We Are Duffree's Perspectives.
We have a lot of responsibility. We reach thousands and millions of people through the projects that we're doing.
We are a creative agency maximizing the positive impact on businesses, society, and our planet.
So if you currently look at all communication marketing campaigns, it's not always representing society.
Radical change needs to happen now. Otherwise, brands and companies are going to get left behind.
You know, if you're a marketing manager, if you're in a senior position, you're an opportunity maker. So how can you redistribute those opportunities in an interesting way?
Every week, founder Mitchell talks to visionaries and change makers who are shaking up the status quo.
We create content for every living soul on this planet.
Get ready to be launched into a new perspective.
Maxine, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. We've known each other for quite some time, work-wise and also outside of work. Can you introduce yourself, though, for the people that don't know you?
The people. My name's Maxine Penney. I'm from the UK. I come from a small town called Maidenhead, predominantly white town. Never really experienced that much racism until I moved to kind of London, and I worked in big corporate companies like HSBC, some banks, and I was an executive assistant. I loved London, but I moved to Amsterdam about 12 years ago, came here for 6 months just to see what the opportunities were and never left and fell in love with Amsterdam.
What did you do in your first year?
I worked at Philips, which I thought was actually an English company until I heard it was the crowning jewel of Holland. So Eindhoven, I went to Eindhoven. I worked by the Amstel station, actually, and I worked in HR. So how to sort of progress middle management into, people that wanted to be managers. And I was there for about 2 years, yeah.
So after Philips?
I went over to Nike in Hilversum. And I worked for women's training, action sports, and women's running. And that was really fun because I worked with the country managers. So I did quite a lot of traveling, and that was really fun. And after that, I went into recruitment. So that's why I've got so much more knowledge now. You know, apart from my own soul searching, the experience that comes from recruitment, it's just you have to find out where your passion is.
And where is your passion?
My passion is with people, yeah. I want to make a change. I'm a change maker.
So what is it that kept you going?
That's a tough question. My friend asked me this because she's like, you've always just gone forward. Mm-hmm. I think, again, maybe coming from a migrant background, but like, there's a resilience there. Sometimes it's a bit survival mode, I kind of didn't really have anyone to kind of fall back on. So you're like, what am I going to do next? I need to pay my rent, I need to pay my bills, but I always wanted to do something that meant something, because we spend most of our life at work. And if you don't like what you're doing, then that's the
most important thing.
That's a long time wasted,
Yeah.
And we only get one life and it's, it can be long or short, but at the same time, you have to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, it's literally why I started We Are Duffree, was the work I was doing as a freelancer. I got paid really well. I had tons of jobs throughout the year. Like, there was always work enough. I was always working hard as well.
Yeah.
But then most of the work I was making, I didn't feel like it really made the world a better place. So I was like, okay, I have to create this. But I don't want to look at it for myself like that, because I just feel like you have to be yourself, because only when you're yourself, you can be the best you are.
Exactly.
You can be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We've got to be brave, and I think we've got to keep going forward. I think COVID also just stopped everyone dead in their tracks and was like, what am I doing this for? Mm-hmm. Why am I doing this? Do I have a good work-life balance? And no matter all the negative things that COVID brought, I think it also brought some really positive things as well. The whole world stopped. We were in the middle of a revolution, or from my perspective anyway. And we really had to question ourselves, and our private lives got thrown upside down. Your freedom got taken away. And then everyone sort of stopped and realized, that half the world actually live their life like this every day. You know, whether it's poverty or, you know, racism or, you know, whatever it is, you know, prejudice that people experience, people felt a slight bit of that, and then they were like, right, we've got to change. And then, of course, Black Lives Matter came up and sort of whooped everyone's arse, you know, because we had time to think about it. If we hadn't had time to stop, I don't think it would have really, there would have been the change that's happening now.
No, because I think I totally agree on that with you, because Black Lives Matters came to a wider attention because of the pandemic, but they already existed way before that. Now, it's crazy to think that we are living in this area right now and we're still discussing these things that were being discussed 60, 70, 80 years ago.
And this is why activism and, you know, radical inclusion is imperative. I'm using big words, but I think it's time to make a stand. Radical change needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. Otherwise, brands and companies are going to get left behind because, you know, really what they want is the essence of street culture. They want the essence of the youth. You know, they want these things. If you don't keep up, you're going to be left behind like the dinosaurs. I really truly believe that, you know, we have to be innovative and we have to have these tough conversations. Of
course.
No one wants to have them. I don't really want to have them all the time, but, you know, I'm there for it. But, you know, there's also differences still with Savoir to Pete, and I hate to bring it up because I think, you know, again, I don't really want to have all these discussions, but I managed to deal with some of these microaggressions that would happen. So every year around September, October, you know, the conversation starts, and I've been here for 12 years. So, you know, I've heard the conversations for the last 12 years. And one of them was at work. So again, making people feel inclusive. I know people are curious, but maybe it's good to consider how someone else feels on the other side. So I walk into my Dutch office. I'm the only person of colour there. And so they all turn around and they all stare at me and they're like, what do you think? Yeah. You know, again, maybe quite a harmless question, but to see all of those people expect you to kind of, you know, sort of have this knowledge. And I said, you know what? It might be a tradition. I don't want to offend anyone. But the fact that you don't think that this is offensive to other people is a bit sad, actually. You know, because, you know, it's really about like, the rest of the world thinks that it's offensive, but you don't because it's your tradition. You know, slavery was a tradition. And then one of my Dutch colleagues piped up and said, Maxine, but we didn't have slaves in the Netherlands. We only shipped them. So, you know, that's a stupid argument. And I was like, wow, okay. And again, sort of having these conversations.
We were
really
the motor in that in
right?
that
But
time
he did not connect the dots that just because, you know, it was a big port and they shipped them, just because they didn't have them in the Netherlands. But again, you know, also knowing your history, education, power is key. Knowledge is power, you know, education is key. I think it's really important because you can't have these conversations unless you know your kind of background and history, and they're hard to have. So I think those differences, you know, I said it earlier as well. In England, it's slightly undercover, the racism. It might come out in sort of, you know, verbal form when you're in the pub or, you know, at a football match.
It's a bit more sneaky.
It's a bit more sneaky, and here it's to your face. So it's hard because you're like, which one's worse? They're both as bad as each other. But, you know, at least when it's kind of to your face, you can sort of be like, I don't agree with that. You know, there's a bit more of a kind of conversation.
What do you do here now?
What do I do here now? Well, I was running my own business and I still feel like it's my baby and I still love it. It's called Fresh Connections with 3 H's. And, you know, it really was born out of the love of connecting people. So I was representing creative agencies and introducing them to brands and my network for new projects.
So you're known as the connector.
I'm the connector, like almost like the Terminator, but the connector.
Well, I can only say that's true.
Exactly.
I know you, so you are the connector. I don't think I know anyone who knows as many people as you do. Literally, and not only locally, but just in general. You know so many human beings. Did you saw yourself being the connector from a young age?
No. Never, which is really strange. So again, looking after people, being organized, you know, connecting things together. But it's only when I left my role at Nike where I really sat down and I did some soul searching and spent a lot of time figuring out what my top skills were.
What's your best business advice for people if they are not going out themselves?
hire someone like Fresh Connections. No. I would be like, because a lot of people are like, I don't want to boast, but it's not boasting when you believe in your work. And I think if you believe in yourself and believe in your work and you showcase that, then I think that's, it's not coming across as arrogant and things like that. It's just saying, look, I did this, I'm really proud of it. Or, I think this is really innovative and I think that we can work together. I think it's really about making that connection.
How do you think people can use their power to impact for the good?
Wow. Again, working with clients, do you value their values, Why do you choose to work with that client? Do you take the big ones so you can do your love projects, the ones that don't have any money? Because I always like to work with people as well on that basis of trust. So, what can we do for each other? Not everyone has money. And again, I think we need to give each other opportunities. Or maybe once that big deal comes through, then you're like, right, let's collaborate. Building relationships takes time. I think, at least a year to 2 years to kind of cultivate like a real sort of good level of trust.
So what is there to come for the future?
For the future, I think... don't be a keyboard warrior. That's, I got lost a little bit on Facebook and Instagram arguing with people that were wasting my time. So instead of wasting that time with people who feel safe behind a screen, I think use that to have these conversations that are difficult. Use them to be brave and have these conversations at work. Use them, I heard a really good term the other day, micro-inclusions. So if someone, someone's made a racist joke or they've made a gender joke and someone feels uncomfortable, you really go up and ask that person, like, how do you feel? Instead of starting an argument and being like, hey, you're wrong. Because, we all are humans, we all need to educate ourselves and it's still a long journey. Maybe ask that person if they're okay and how do they feel. And then go back to that person if you can and say, would you have liked that if someone did that to you? So I think be brave, have these conversations, keep going, and we can all make a change. Yeah.
Beautiful. Stop projecting your own opinions, but start asking questions.
Yes.
And it costs you more energy as a human being to offend someone else than to keep your mouth shut if it's not bringing any value or goodness.
And if you're a friend and ally, it's even more important that you educate yourself. I can't explain how important that is because they're the people that you trust the most.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being on board.
Thank you for having me.
To have this important conversation with us and share your life knowledge.
Yes, thank
you. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And speak soon.
Speak soon, yes.